an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Fullmetal Alchemist, Brotherhood. Episode 2, The First Day. In this episode, I'm going to start you out with a joke from Alex Irwin in the chat. Hey, that's a nice suit. What did it cost? An arm and a leg? Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Max for commissioning this episode. All right, kids. Let's get into this. Y'all, I need to talk about the very opening of this episode. It's really interesting to me, and this is something that I could run across in so much of television. The opening of this episode explains alchemy and the law of, what is it? The law of exchange? The law of equal exchange? And you would really think that this would be explained in the first episode? And equivalent exchange. Thank you, Alex. And there are so many shows that do this where the first episode, they drop you into shit they don't explain. You get it, like the broad strokes, but they don't actually give you the background until the second episode. And this is like frequent. And I know that that's because the first episode is like a pilot. It's usually the pitch, right? They throw that out there so as to grip you, and then they wait to give you the info dump and backstory later because they want to grab your attention first. It's just funny to me, and I'm sure that this is borne out in data, and that's why it's done. There's no reason for this, right? But I just find it so interesting that getting dropped into it without explanation is what tends to grip people more than getting a little bit of info. Like this info dump about how alchemy works at the start. This is not long. It's not in depth. It's not like, in the beginning, there were elves who made the rings or whatever the fuck. Oh, it was Sauron who made the rings. Don't yell at me, everybody. You know what I'm talking about. It's long. The intro to Lord of the Rings. It's a long story. This is not that. So I do find it funny that they just didn't do it. And it's fine. Because, you get the gist of what the dude is talking about. In the first episode, Isaac says something like, well, what about the law of equal exchange or equivalent exchange, man? And, I was able to infer, okay, alchemy works in a similar way as physics. You can't destroy matter. It can be changed, but that's it. You can't take heat out of nothing. You have to pull heat from the air, and the air will be cold, or pull water from something and the thing will dry out. I get it, but I just find it so funny that it is handled this way so much of the time. It's not until episode 2 that you actually get your background. Gus says this episode can also be considered the first episode. Yeah, this is the thing that I have heard through the grapevine, and the grapevine is mostly Owen, that the first episode is considered kind of not key. Which again, I liked it, so that's fine. Whatever. So I'm going to just read real quick the actual intro verbatim, because like I said, it is not long, but I feel like it's important. Alchemy, the science of understanding, deconstructing, and reconstructing matter, is not an all-powerful art. It is impossible to create something out of nothing. If one wishes to obtain something, something of equal value must be given. This is the law of equivalent exchange, the basis of all alchemy. In accordance with this law, there is a taboo among alchemists. Human transmutation is strictly forbidden, for what could equal the value of a human soul? And that is the end. That is pretty important, and I would have liked that info earlier. I am just saying. But it's fine. Like I said, I was able to infer most of it. I just thought it was interesting. So, we start off with our two guys who, by the way, y'all, I didn't put this together, and I don't know if this is on purpose, but once I stopped and thought about it, I can call you Eddie. Eddie, when you call me, you can call me Al. Is that on purpose? Is that like anything? That feels like it's like gotta be on purpose. But also, maybe it's nothing. But that's just Eddie and Al now. Okay. I mean, I know he goes by Ed, but like, I mean, I may just do my own thing because that's how I roll. So, they are talking to each other. They're on a train about how there is some guy who allegedly can create flowers out of nothing. This priest that allegedly can do miracles. He can transmute flowers out of thin air. And they are interested because if it's possible to actually break the law of equivalent exchange and actually pull something out of nothing, maybe we can actually do this human transmutation after all. And this is something that I asked in the last episode, and I'm sure you guys can't really tell me this, but I don't understand what they expect this to look like. If he could transmute, like, the suit of armor, was that supposed to be inhabited by their mother? Was that, like, I'm trying to think actually the way that went. Did they have the suit of armor in place when they began the ritual, the transmutation, or did that suit of armor, like, get formed by itself? Tony says, no, it's just in the room. Candace says that's their dad's office. I think the suit of armor was just in the room with them, so likely it belonged to him. Okay. So, the thing is, there's a creature. I'm gonna just like jump ahead and talk about what actually happens in the scene. They grow obsessed with alchemy after being encouraged by their mother. Their mother passes away from some like plague or disease, something that spreads. And they desperately want her back. Their dad is like worthless. They don't even know where he is. He didn't even come to their mom's funeral. They have no idea. I can't help but be like, well, okay, their dad's the eye patch guy, because that's just how it goes in these stories. But maybe not. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I don't care. But they are deciding that they're going to learn everything they can about alchemy and do the forbidden taboo thing to bring their mom back. And what I don't get is, are they expecting to be able to pull a fully formed human body out of nothing? Is that the intention? Like a full working bones, lungs, everything kind of deal? Because if I was going with, okay, they created a suit of armor for her to occupy and it falls within the metal thing, fine. Because I'm still like working under this assumption that his specialty is working with metal. I'm beginning to think that's not actually true. It just looks that way because of the circumstances. But maybe he can do a lot of other things. So I am assuming that creature that shows up, it's got long hair, it's reaching for him. There is like the suggestion that this is a partially accomplished, like, I don't even want to say human body. It's a body. It doesn't look human. It's unclear to me how human it was even going to be. Like, is it... The thing about working with something like this is your intention is to create something, but you are working with forces that you don't get, trying to pull from nothing. And if the pulling from nothing is truly impossible, that means that you are unknowingly pulling from something. And that means that you're going to get some shit you didn't even know existed or was there. And so what I'm worried about is pulling a creature into our dimension because they're trying to create life, and they're pulling life from someplace, not even realizing that's... So, like, the thing looks like, oh, it's their mother, but gone wrong. But is it? Or is it a thing that exists already? And I'm going to use the word demon, even though that's... You guys know that I don't really mean that in, like, the traditional way. But let's say demon, that just has a mom sort of aspect to it, because they are intending that. You know? So what I've got here is just this huge, like, unknown about how this stuff works. And Ed has a bunch of knowledge by the end of this episode because of the contact that he makes with something. And he hasn't responded to the questions about what was in the circle. So I can't tell if he knows what that was and just isn't going to talk about it, because I would not blame him if that were it, or if he's unclear what went wrong himself. Let's see, okay, so they were talking about the ingredients, the minerals they listed were supposed to be the components of a human body, says Erica. Okay. And Michael says they got the full mom Lego kit. Michael, am I going to have to ban you? Am I going to have to kick you? I might kick you. You're on notice. I'm putting you on my just my watch list. Michael just says, okay. You know what? I gotta do another, I have a little soundboard that I downloaded, guys. What I really want is the sound effect, wop, 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 wop. But I couldn't find that because I don't really know what to call it other than, like, sad trumpet. And searching sad trumpet, surprising amount of spam. So anyway, we're going to get into this. Since I said that I was going to talk about the actual ritual itself anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is so incredibly creepy. It's very cool. I am into it. I really need more animation to use this, like, method of the shadow being cast by something white that is not transparent but opaque, so there's just this, like, cloud with the silhouette in the middle of it. Really weirdly, it is effective. That is such a weird look, and it's just so different than the things that you usually see, and therefore it really gives an otherworldly kind of the fuck is going on sort of energy, you know? So when I saw that Ed had lost a leg and an arm, as it turns out, he hasn't lost his arm. When he first like comes out of this place and casts this spell to keep his brother's soul, he slaps flesh palms together. I am assuming that he lost his arm as a result of that, doing that without casting the circle the way that they've talked about. I don't know. Maybe he made another trade that we just didn't get to see. Or like maybe he trade his arm for his brother, because he says you can take my arm. And I don't know if that was official. Like, I don't know how this works. How do you have to like draw up a contract? Do you do a handshake? Like, it doesn't seem like he gets to consent or not. It's whatever the fuck he's dealing with's decision as to how much he has given and deserves back. That, for me, guys, a few days ago, I tried to sign up for a meal kit plan, and they wouldn't even let me see what was available in my region unless I signed up. And I just cannot. You don't make deals when you don't have it in writing what you're getting. I just want everybody to like let that sink in. He is out here, take my arm, just give me my brother back. If that's actually how it works, which he got his leg taken away after being given knowledge. He was not told, well, I'll give you all this knowledge if you'll give me your leg. That's not how that worked. He wasn't warned. He wasn't given an option. He started a transmutation. It went badly. Rebounded is the word he used. And then this just happens to him. And yeah, it's a result of his actions, but it's not something that he understood. I really want to know, has this happened to anybody else? Because human transmutation being a taboo does not mean other people haven't done it. Like, let's get real. You call something a taboo, and 30% of the population's ears prick up and go, "Word?" They want to do it because you said not to do it because it's fucked up. That's just how it rolls. Go look at Pornhub's search. They know that's how it goes. So someone has to have tried this and wound up dealing with something like this also. Did they write it down? Did they tell anybody? Did they say? Because, like, I can't decide if I were in his position, would I want to tell anybody about this? You know, he's got access to some information now that makes him seem as if he's just like a gifted alchemist. And obviously, we are meant to think that he is gifted already. Like, the dedication of study that he and his brother are doing. But there's a difference between like, oh, you've got talent and you're a prodigy. And now he seems like a prodigy because he got given a ton of knowledge. If you were given this kind of knowledge, would you admit, oh, I got this knowledge because a demon stole my leg because I fucked something up? Or would you just let people think, oh, she's a prodigy? Yeah, oh, definitely. I just know this stuff. It's wild. I know my leg's missing, not related, completely separate incidents, nothing about them. Like, if you don't want to tell, I feel like it implies that it's because you want the credit. But maybe not. Maybe you're like, they wouldn't believe me if I tried to tell them. I don't really know in this world how much is understood about how all of this works. And so I don't know what would be believed because they can do magic. So if he attempted to explain this, would anyone have any idea what he's fucking talking about? That's really what it comes down to for me, is like, is there a written record anywhere of somebody having a rebound and it going this way and them talking about how it happened? And if there is, again, he lost his arm. Is that a result of asking for his brother back? And can he do this again? Can he be like, all right, look, I've been getting by with my one leg. I figured out how to, like, you know, get a friend of mine to make me a robot leg, and it's pretty solid. I am not against trading the other leg. Could he choose to do that? Or is it just something that happens to you that you don't get a say in? Is it just sort of a punishment, really? You know? This is all I want to know about. Ryan said, you said last episode that you would view Ed differently if it was his fault what happened to Al. So what do you think after seeing what happened now? Yeah, and Ryan, like last episode, once I began to pay a little bit more attention to the very specific language, I came to the conclusion it probably was Ed's fault. And I stand by that Ed is not great. I don't like him. Sorry, Ed. I think you know that you kind of suck, though. And that's fine. I'm sure you will be extremely interesting to watch. Watching good people, that's only fun if they are surrounded by, like, awful people. And that can be, in its way, awful. Mostly you want to be following around the bad person or the very questionable person. The fact that Ed's immediate reaction to human transmutation is a taboo is not, oh, really? What could go wrong? But instead, is it? That says a lot about him. It's not even a question. He just is like, well, mom's dead, so clearly we're doing this. It's just a given to him that they're going to try this. And I can't tell if he has learned anything from this. Yeah, he wants his brother's body back because he feels guilty, but also he gained the knowledge that apparently human transmutation is possible. It's just that there's something missing. What's missing? What's missing, though? Look, would he have to sacrifice another human being to get his mom back? Because that's what it seemed like started happening. It's like the Void, I'm going to call it, took his brother to give him his mother, is like the vibe. And it didn't work. But I don't know if that's because it wasn't on purpose. That wasn't what he intended to do. And so it wasn't set up properly. And he fights to get his brother back and get his soul back. But he does that after we see that creature on the floor. If he had tried to get his brother's soul bonded to the armor before he saw the creature, then I might think, oh, perhaps that was about to work. And taking his brother's soul back and removing it from the equation is what caused it to go wrong. But that's not the order in which it happened. So, I don't know. But Ed, for me, like, obviously he's an extremely angry kid, you know, and his dad, he has nothing but contempt for, and basically is just like, fuck that piece of actual garbage. And even later, after all this has happened, when he's approached about joining the military, dude is like, I saw fire in his eyes. He is determined. And so that's what worries me, is like, he's given just enough information to be like a motivator instead of a discouraging factor. This doesn't seem like somebody who's looking at what happened going, I will never try that again. That's somebody going, first tries never work. What can you do? And I don't like it. Man, your brother's body's gone. Stop it. You know? There's an old lady in that room going, you saw what the fuck was in that circle and you want to have him do this for a living? And honestly, team old lady, she's right. I am 100% on her side. This dude is over here like, oh, do you want to wallow in self-pity or do you want to do something and try and take things back? And I'm like, yeah, trust you, young dude, to have that attitude. Instead of being like, hey, maybe I'll put my hands up and back slowly away because I clearly don't know what the fuck I'm doing. How about that? It's just like, that's such dude energy to me. I'm sorry. There's the chat is like blowing up. Let me see what else. Damien says conveniently there was a war they could blame on the limb lossage. That's true. Like, is that what they're saying happened? Edward's father's absence was so loud this episode. Yeah, he is. It's unclear to me too how much he knows who his father is, because I'm, just throwing it out there like, oh, of course, big bad guy's his dad, Eye Patch Man, because that's just the hero's journey, But yeah, if he's met his dad, he would know that Mr. Bradley is his dad. So wouldn't he? I don't know. Can that man transmute face into another face? I don't know how that works. Let's see. Tony says he's against killing. He wouldn't sacrifice a person. I mean, knowingly, like I don't, and maybe he would if it was the right person. I mean, for example, if somebody shoved his dad at him and was like, you can throw him in that circle and you can get your mom back, your dad'll die. I have a hard time thinking that he wouldn't just be like, I might be wrong about that, but I don't know. He seems pretty mad. Candace says, I think at this point, Ed is motivated by the demand for a present parent, angry at dad and wants mom back. Yeah. He has his brain a baby. Edward is an easily radicalized youth. Yeah. Pinaco? What syllable is the accent on? Pinaco? Okay. Pinaco is the only sane person in the series, says Damien. Yeah, I mean, that's the way with old ladies and shit a lot of the time. They just tend to be the ones, they're advising like the laziest sounding course of action or the boringest sounding. They'll be like, don't do that. Don't go there. Don't talk to him. And like, of course, when you're young and full of energy, you're like, but why not? And I don't blame the young. You know what? Okay, go use your energy on something. Fine. Go ahead. Whatever. But old ladies know. Ain't worth it. You could have used that for something and you're just going to waste it on that guy, I guess. Erica says, this is an eerie mirror to the U.S. military preying on young underprivileged youth with likely false promises of a glorious future. Yeah, Gabriella says that's very universal. I was about to say, that's just such a thing in general. It's a tale as old as time. And it's wild to me that it turns out the name Fullmetal is his code name from the military. They assign it. And so I have been walking around thinking like that's what he kind of goes by or what his title is because of the kind of alchemy that he does. And evidently not. He's assigned Fullmetal because of his leg and arm. Is that right? Or is it because he does transmute metal? So maybe it's just that we see there's a whole thing where he uses like electricity at one point, and I don't really know how that factors in or if that's like just the effect that's happening to demonstrate that he's pulling matter toward him. Or if that's like a whole other, I don't know. Oh, Cam is here. Hi, Cam. Cam says no syllable is stressed in Japanese. Is it not? Pinnacle, is that not stressing anything? I hope I'm saying that right. I think it was because of his prosthetics, says Ryan. So kind of fucked up. Alex says it's because he puts his face on a lot of metal things he creates, complete with wig. Guys, can we just take a moment to remember how long it took me to get past that last episode and the theories I threw out there about this wig? But anyway, I have a lot of questions about how any of this works and how much everybody knows about it. Like, the way that they react to this demon thing in the circle. There's no, like, you know, whenever you have like a universe that you're building and you want to demonstrate that there's whispers about this because somebody has done it, you'll have people spot something and be like, it's just like in the tale of such and such, or I thought those were only legends, or, you know, like whatever. You'll have them reference this thing as something they knew of. Nobody's doing that with this. There's no, the old lady is pure what the fuck. And that's the old lady. She's been around. If she doesn't know anything about what that is, I feel very badly about all of it. I don't like that. You know, you've been around that long and this thing feels completely outside of your knowledge. I just think that's a real red flag. Like, this kid, I am just dying to know what he looked up for this information for human transmutation. Where did he get the recipe? Like, because anybody worth their salt with cooking knows if you're going to all recipes, you're getting a very, very different result than if you go to King Arthur. You know, those are not the same equivalent source. All recipes is like the Wikipedia of cooking. Anybody can put whatever garbage. So, did he go to all recipes? Because I feel like if you're writing some illegal shit, I don't know if it's technically illegal. It's a taboo. Is it illegal? Like, how does that work? I'm going to go with illegal just because I feel like that's how it would function in this world, but I don't know that. I don't know if you guys can tell me that. But if you're going to do something illegal and document it, you got to do all recipes. You can't go to King Arthur Flour and have them publish your shit. Right? So I guess that it would have to be shady sources. Like any, oh, Melanie's here. Hi, Melanie. Candace says their mom says dad is a skilled alchemist, so I imagine he's got some academia level resources. I mean, the thing is, academia level resources on a not well understood, allowed, respected method might not look like much. You know what I mean? Like, it all really depends on how this world is set up and how many people have tried this and how much they know about why it doesn't work. And the way that the intro words it is like, you know, it's not allowed because who can put a price on a human soul, because it's like, you know, equivalent exchange. That doesn't feel like the actual issue. I'm sure somebody could put a price on a human soul. It's not like it doesn't work because we just don't know how much money to pay. They clearly don't know how to do it. That's the thing. I don't know. I can't believe how long I've spent talking about this. I am 35 minutes into this and I haven't hardly talked about any of this episode. I'm sorry. But yeah, I just straight up have so many questions. And this is the kind of thing that I get really nervous about, because I will begin to ask questions And there have been times where I don't get any answers. And that's like, you know, sometimes I don't get answers, and that's fine because that's part of the way that the narrative is woven. But sometimes I don't get answers because it feels like the people who wrote it didn't consider the things that I'm asking, and I hate that. That sucks. Like, I always am very saddened when my spitballing turns out to be, like, utterly irrelevant. I don't think that's probably the case here. But I just, you know, I hesitate to, like, go too far down rabbit holes with my questions and thoughts because I don't want to wind up like finding holes that never get filled in, I guess, is really what it is. Gus says, I feel like the magic is more like science than magic. The mechanics aren't explained, but it feels like if you have all the ingredients to something, you can make it, except for a soul, apparently. Candace says, like, you can read books on vivisections and lobotomies, even though nobody is doing those. So I just assumed there was sketchbooks in there for theory and not practice. Yeah, but the thing is that those things were only, like, unfortunately, with lobotomies, like, pretty recently discovered to be incredibly inhumane and ineffective and whatever. And I don't know if that's how it worked with human transmutation. Is that something that, like, oh, they used to do that shit all the time and it got outlawed once we, like, grew as a civilization and realized it wasn't okay? Or is it something that, like, it's never been done successfully and it's only ever ended in the loss of limbs, so we don't do that? So that's, like, my question is, like, what does the documentation look like? Because who has tried this before, and what is it that he has seen that made him so certain he could pull it off, even though it's against the rules and just not done? So yeah, that's what we just know it's frowned upon for now. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just asking all these questions because, like, I don't know. And that would all change the way I feel about him approaching this the way that he did. If his dad, as an alchemist, if his father's books were in the house and that was his father's study, he had to have seen his dad. So I guess Eye Patch isn't his dad. That's fine. I'm just going to let that go. If there are academic resources that give him real instruction and he's 11, then, I mean, whomst among us has not put metal in the microwave as a child, even though we know that's not really, like, supposed to be what we do. If you know, okay, I'm not trying to compare summoning your mother from the afterlife to putting metal in a microwave, but you guys all fucking know what I'm talking about. Cam says, I did not put metal in the microwave. I don't believe you. Straight up. Cam's very mad at me. Candace says, it's almost like we shouldn't just leave shit out for kids to consume with no guidance or context. Almost. I'll say this. I didn't put aluminum foil in the microwave. I put a wind-up mechanical Easter chick in the microwave. I wish I could remember what I was thinking at the time I did it. I genuinely don't. Like, I knew I shouldn't as I was doing it. I just wanted to know what would happen. And what happened was sparks and smoke and a ruined mechanical chicken. So, there's that. Cam says, how old were you? 6? Old enough to know that I was not supposed to be doing that, you know. Not 11. I feel like at 11 I wouldn't have done it. But also, if somebody was like, if you put this metal in the microwave, your mother would come back to life, but don't. I mean, yeah, I'll probably try that. I'm not going to lie. So, anyway. You guys, I just really get in the weeds when I'm left to my own devices. Holy shit. So, I should mention, too, that I genuinely didn't expect to get the answers to what happened to him and his brother this quickly. I thought this was going to be an ongoing sort of mystery that got revealed piecemeal to the audience over the course of, like, the whole first season or something. And I think that is just such a device nowadays in television. And I'm not saying that as like, that's not a bad thing inherently. It's just extremely common now because they are trying to get you to binge things. They are trying to create a more like through line. And so I'm unconsciously expecting not to get information, honestly. So when we went into this and I realized that we were like full flashing back and going to see everything and how it happened, I was truly shocked. I just didn't expect to get the whole story. And I will say we don't quite get the whole story because we see him slap his hands together, cut, and then he's got no arm. So I don't, we don't quite get everything, but it's most of it. And I haven't really talked enough about like once he's on that other side, what happens there. It is so, okay. So I had expected that the rebound would, because there's electricity and lightning and smoke and whatnot coming off of the circle. And I am thinking it's going to cut his leg off. There's going to be a, what do you call it? Like a lightning strike or something that's going to, and I didn't really think about the fact that in the little scene, the snippet that we saw in the first episode, his leg isn't like really, like there's blood, don't get me wrong, but it's a very clean wound. It's a very straight across wound. And at the time I just figured, well, cartoons, but I'm realizing now I think that was a little bit of a clue that wasn't that wasn't an injury in the way that I would think of it. So yeah, the circle, like it looks like a giant eye opens and we have Al beginning to shatter, and Al's shattering is a really weird sort of, it's like when safety glass shatters, it is cubes, it's little squares. It's not like fragments and shards the way you think. It looks weirdly organized, like he's pixels that are flying apart. And that happens to his arm first, and then it happens to Ed's leg. And when like it happens, he looks down and he sees the broken area, and there's like all of these little hands that are, it's a really weird effect. And I think those are meant to be the things that are coming up out of the circle. There's like, they grab him later as well. And his brother is further into the circle, and these things have really got a hold of him. And he's reaching out to his brother, and his brother shatters completely, and then all of a sudden he's in white space. And it's a complete, like, once I realized that whatever was going to go on with him was in a different sort of like dimension and was going to take more time, I got really excited. This is a trope that I really love, which is we're going to freeze time and do a whole thing and then come back. And it's like that all happened in blink of an eye, instant. And nobody notices that the time passed, or, whatever. This is something that happens a lot in the Cradle series. Read the Cradle series. Holy shit, everybody. But there are moments of people being pulled into a third space and making a deal with somebody or having a chat about the future or whatever, and then being put back. Not just Cradle. Actually, Will White does that in his other Elder Empire series also, which is also very good, and you should read that. But yeah, I always enjoy this because as soon as you see that they are somewhere else, you're like, oh shit, what's here? Who's here? There's something that they didn't know they were about to have to deal with. And that's always fun because who knows? It could be a being that is actually very like humanoid. And this thing is humanoid in its appearance as a silhouette. I wouldn't call it like humanoid in the way that I meant, which is in, for example, Cradle. There's a character who gets pulled into like basically the equivalent of like a living room and there's a crackling fire and a sofa and they have drinks. Like, it's that kind of vibe where it's like a person that you're seeing and they just happen to have a crazy ability. Then there's this sort of thing where you're dealing with this unknowable fucking creature that not only has access to knowledge and information that you don't, but seems to enjoy that you fucked up. And that's never a place we want to be. We don't want something actively rooting for us to fuck up. And that's what the energy is here for me, is this thing is like, oh, sweet. This fucking kid. I have not had somebody try human transmutation in like a millennia. I can't wait. It has been ages. Like, that's the sort of vibe. And when his leg is taken, it shows up on this creature. So now I'm extra worried because is it trying to take form? Why does it want his leg? What's that about? Because the point of the transmutation, when our guys are using it, is I have a pitchfork, I need a sword. I will transform a pitchfork into a sword. If we are going into this universe and this thing is like, I don't have a leg, I'm taking your leg, then it's after a leg specifically. Unless it's just after suffering. Maybe it's just after his suffering. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Somebody has asked a question. Sorry. Tony says, what do you think happened to Al's body? That was exactly what I was going to follow up with. Thank you, Tony. Is if this thing, so you know what? I'm going to answer that by going back to the actual step-by-step of this scene. He's standing in front of this weird gate. It's like 2 huge doors with all of this writing on them. And there is a being, like I said, in this weird silhouette with like a fuzzy shadow around it. This being looks like Avatar, like Aang, in silhouette, to be honest. It could be taking the shape of his brother's body. It doesn't look like it has hair. That's the only thing. His brother's hair was cropped pretty short. So it could be still, it could be his brother. Like, if I'm sorry, guys, I feel like I'm interrupting myself because I keep having these thoughts. If Ed showed up here before his brother disappeared into thin air, would this thing have had this same shape? That's basically my question. Did it get its overall shape from his brother? And now it's like, all right, cool. I have like the frame, and now I need the material to build around the frame, and that's your leg and your arm. Because again, with the, you're trying to pull something out of nothing, and probably that's not possible, so you're pulling out of somewhere, and maybe pulling something over to our side that shouldn't be here. And maybe something's trying to come over to our side that shouldn't be here. Maybe somebody got pulled into that area after a fucked up attempt at human transmutation, and they have been trying to get out and they can't. This might be a person. This might, like, it's coming across as like, oh, I'm God. I'm truth. Is it? Because there's no reason to believe what it says. It has a ton of knowledge and it does give that to him, but that might be something that just happens because you're in this space. The way that this, so yeah, he says, oh, who are you? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. And I should mention the voice here feels really feminine, and I don't know if that's like significant at all because I know that women do the voices for young boys as well. But I'm so glad you asked. And I should mention in the background, Teferet's in Virtuous, Hod in Archangel, Iasod in Angelos, Netzeth in Princip. All of these names coming off of this like sort of feather formation, or like, I'm trying to think what to call this. It's almost like palm fronds. There is a sense to this of like, I'm keeping track of all of the people that did things here. Yeah, and it goes up and there's like a full tree of Sephiroth. Yeah, there's Sephiroth, Seph 8. And then up top, Eluk Pater. Pater means father. Yeah, I don't know. I am the universe. I am God. I am truth. I am all. I am one, and I am also you. And this is when the doors open, the giant eye opens behind him. You have dared to knock on the door. Now the door is open. And the hands come out and grip him up and pull him through. As he screams, this being says, "Quiet, child, this is what you wanted, isn't it?" And I'm like, well, you know that's not true. I will show you the truth. So he goes through the doors, they slam shut, and he goes hurtling through a void as strips of information shoot past him and are like being beamed into his head is the effect. And it's basically so much that he's begging for it to stop. And as this is happening, his hand and leg, we see them dissolving again. Even his face is beginning to like show cracks in it. And as he's like beginning to say, make it stop, the silhouette of his mother apparently is like right there, very close. You can see her hair flowing and her standing there, and her hand is reaching out. And then all of a sudden he's back on the other side of the door. And Truth says, "How was it?" And this is when he says, "Oh, I get it. Okay. So the theory isn't wrong. It's possible. It's just still missing something. All of the answers I need are right here." And he goes up to the door like he's going to try and open it again, which after what he just went through and like trying to get back through, honestly, that's a silly move, sir. I just, So yeah, this is when he says, "You got to tell me the rest." This being is like, "I'm sorry. You got what you paid for. You didn't pay enough to get the rest of it." And then his leg begins to vanish again. And when he turns around, this being is right up against his face, a lot bigger. "It's the law of equivalent exchange, right, young alchemist?" And then he's back in the room screaming with his leg missing. And this is when we see this creature. It's so awful too, because the creature he can't tell what it is right away. So it just is like a silhouette for a second that you see her hair, and you almost have a moment to think, is she there actually? And then you see the teeth and you're like, oh no. This thing is on its back, and it's got this like posture and expression of extreme pain. It doesn't feel to me like this thing wanted to be here. I don't know. I might be wrong. It might have this expression because it was trying to attack, but there's just something about it that makes me feel like it didn't want this either. And it's got really red eyes and the very, very pointy teeth, and it is a little alive and reaching out, and there's like blood coming off it. Like its skin isn't there kind of blood, like it's oozing. And this is when he freaks out and just says, take my arm, he says, take my arm, take my leg, take my heart, anything. You can have it. Just give him back. And so my question is also, like, does he have a heart anymore or what? Because we don't know. Has anybody cut him open recently? I don't know what's in there. I should mention too, guys, as I'm watching this, that there are like those weird moments for commercial breaks that are built into the episode, and it is jarring. He is out here being like, I need my brother. He's all I have left. Fullmetal Alchemist. It's just weird. Very abrupt. So let's see. I always thought of it as non-binary, like neither male nor female, says Alex. Sure. Gabriella says it's nightmare-inducing is what it is. Yeah, fair. Michael, I mean, this is basically like buying knowledge in the form of any college textbook. Erica says costs an arm and a leg. Oh, you guys. So this, I am like over time, so I really have to jump ahead here. But guys, help me out with the names of these people again. We've got Dad Commander, who is very cute with his glasses, and his daughter that he loves. And then we've got like Uptight Dude, who is the one who comes to the house. One of them is named Hughes, but I can't remember which one it is. Uptight is Colonel Mustang. Dad is Hughes. Okay. Colonel Mustang. I'm sorry. I don't think so. No. No. I don't think so. That's just too dang close to Colonel Mustard, first of all. And then Mustang is somehow worse? Like, I don't like it. I'm going to have to figure out something else because I'm not calling him that. Okay, so he has this like sort of talk with Hughes here because they were back in present day, and Hughes is like, why did you get this kid involved in the military in the first place? Because he's going to have to go through hell. And the colonel's like, yeah, he's been there already. Because apparently Hughes doesn't know everything that Ed has been through, which I find sort of interesting. I wonder what he would react like if he did know, because he seems so concerned about everybody around him that I feel like he would be really horrified. The scene where they go and like get him to join up, like I said, you guys, I just really didn't care for this, the whole energy of this. And what I feel I'm going to see more than once is that the colonel is going to like feed into the worst aspects of Ed's personality. His name is Roy Mustang. Why is that even funnier? All right, we're going to call him Roy. Colonel Roy. He, I think, just has the same kind. He's got anger in him. You can tell. You know, I don't know what it's from. I don't know what his deal is, but he definitely feels like somebody with a chip on their shoulder. And he can recognize that in Ed, I think. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that he would have tried the same thing that Ed tried. I feel like maybe he's too much of a rule follower to do that, but he's definitely willing to push it. You know, that's the sort of the impression that I'm getting from him. And I should mention also that what's her name? What's the name of the girl? Is it Windry, the little girl? There is this like back and forth between her and the boys before his brother loses his body. And she says something about how grandma says you shouldn't cry for people who have died because that makes them sad on the other side. And I was like, look, Winry, thank you, Alex. Look, I get that there actually are like some superstitions like this. Like you can mourn for somebody so much that you keep them locked in place because you are so attached that you prevent them from actually crossing over due to your desperate attempt to hold on to them. That's actually something that occurs in various traditions and superstitions. So it might be from that, but it really just comes across as like, stop crying. And their mother died. So Winry, why don't you get the fuck out of here and shove it up your ass? Nobody needs you. Stop it. Just genuinely. And her grandmother, you'll notice, Winry, didn't say this to them. She said this around you and you decided to come out here and repeat it. So maybe just keep that shit to yourself next time. And I do appreciate, like, Ed just, like, gets up in her face and it's just like, yeah, well, you're a fucking crybaby. And I was like, damn, Ed, okay, you can calm down too. But honestly, if somebody was trying to tell me not to cry after my mom died, I would react poorly. So that's fine. But it ends with Ed getting assigned his code name and getting a smile and saying that it sounds really intimidating. And again, I just want to say Ed's anger is going to be an issue. This is a problem. What is he like now? 12? 13 at this point? Like, he is at a volatile age, has access to power that most people don't, has been put in a position where he can be like kind of let loose and they would let that happen because they're encouraging him to go and kill somebody if he needs to. Like he's the one being, I don't think so, guys. I don't think I'm going to do that. I just think this is a real bad recipe. I don't like it. Let's see. Candace says, I feel like Winry knows Ed well enough to know he would have reacted badly. I didn't like the scene either. She was being mean. Yeah. 100%. Tony says they're like 6. Give her a break. Tony, you should know me well enough by now. I don't give children breaks. It's not how I roll. That's why I'm not having any. I would be completely unreasonable. It's best for all of us. So yeah, that's the end of the episode. I feel like I have to have missed something, but I really think I went over practically everything. There is a scene with Winry and Lieutenant Riza, and Winry is low-key like, you're the reason my parents are dead, and kind of getting personal about it. I don't know exactly what happened to Winry's parents, but Winry is just out here really talking to people in a way that I feel like she needs to rein in. When we see her later, though, Winry is the one who designed the mechanical arm and leg, right? And at this point, Ed's calling her a gearhead, and like as if this is somehow a drawback. Like he's acting like that's a pejorative, and I'm like, she gave you limbs. How about you don't have a fucking attitude, Ed? Everybody just needs to have a little perspective. So, Candace says he's mad she makes rules. Bro, she made you an arm. Shut up. Yeah, exactly. Like, truly, oh, you're such a gearhead. Oh, okay. I guess I'll just not do this anymore if it's bothering you so much. What the fuck, dude? Stop it. So, yeah, I'm very interested, though, because of the fact that she is building this shit. That's fun. I don't, know what to expect there. It's not exactly magic as far... Well, no. Erica says automail, and I forgot that that's what she calls it. So is it magic? I'm looking at it thinking that it's like a computerized thing, but I don't... It might be magic. Computers are practically magic anyway, honestly. It's basically the same thing, so I don't know why I even asked, because if you told me this was run on magic, it would make as much sense to me as telling me that it runs on electricity and microchips. Like, that means nothing to me either. I know that those exist and are ingredients in the computer recipe, and that's it. So, I don't know. All right. They're saying science that's advanced but doesn't exist in the real world. Okay, cool. All right, I'm over time. I got to wrap. But thank you again, Max, for commissioning this. Enjoying it a great deal. Thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out with me. I hope that you guys are enjoying the coverage, too. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.